Welcome our podcast community. We got a special podcast. We got a podcaster on a podcast. So that's a beautiful thing. We both talk. We both like to, provide information and education to our senior community. And want to thank Brian Sullivan for introducing
Mhm.
us. So, Mark, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Absolutely. And agree. Shout out to Brian Sullivan. He is also a local senior placement agent. So highly recommend Brian. He's good people. But
Yes.
thank you, Pete. I am Mark Little. I am the host of CareQuest Solutions podcast. And I'm also the founder and CEO of CareQuest Solutions, which we are a senior advisor. We help families navigate the process of the challenges that families have when making decisions of having in-home care, assisted living, memory care, and also connect those families with all the resources they may need. So kind of like the ripping off the phrase "one call, that's all" from an attorney. We try to be that one phone call to connect families, to love on them and help them through a very challenging time in their life.
Yeah, and it could be a very difficult time when people aren't aware of people and resources that are available,
Mhm.
especially when you look at, our kids a lot of times come full circle to help the parents kind of navigate through another stage. We raise our kids, we do everything we can, and then it kind of flips. What do
Mhm.
you see when you in senior care? What would our viewers need to know when it comes to that struggle of really getting the kids on board with the parents?
That is a very good question, and it's something that I'll be the first to say that it's easy for me to, or easier for me to step in into a family's life and do my best to walk them through all the different facets of the decisions that come along. But I'm going through it with my own family, Pete, and my own sisters, and with my wife. And my mom is home with hospice. She's 92. My dad's 93. uh, she's at home with 24-hour care. It is so overwhelming
Mhm.
that I almost cannot function at times because I'm so close to the situation. So, to answer your question more specifically, is letting anyone that sees this understand that it is hard. And if you feel like you're imploding, it's okay, because no one teaches us how to handle this. It's just like having a kid. There's no book that you can open and follow step by step guides like you can putting together a piece of furniture. It's overwhelming, and you learn things about yourself. Some are good, some are not good. You learn things about your family members and siblings. Some are good, some are not good.
Mhm.
And it's a sobering experience. It Transparently speaking, it makes me look in the mirror. I'm 60 years old, Pete, and it's intimidating, to where you're like, God, thank you for my life, but no disrespect, but please don't allow me to get so old that I need the kind of care even my mom is getting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something when I moved into this senior facility, my mom's 94, so
Wow.
I know I'm aware of it, but being a family member and she's up in Richmond, I'm not around her as much as my brothers and sisters. When
Mhm.
you live in a facility, you experience it and
Yeah.
you see it firsthand, the demands, the changing needs. There was a couple that lived here, and when I first moved in, they would come to breakfast holding hands. It was a beautiful thing.
Mm.
And so, fast forward a couple months, he had early stages of dementia and had to be removed to go into another facility because he was getting violent. And
Mm.
so, when he moved away, he never opened his eyes again and passed
Wow.
months, like about a month and a half later. He was so mad in his dementia mind
Hmm.
that being separated, but she couldn't handle him because dementia just changes everything. It's like you go through dementia with somebody, a loved one, and it's like you're going through a stage with somebody you don't even know. because
It's really, I'm
changes
sorry.
quickly, and it's not like one size fits all. They're all different.
Yeah.
And when that, like, your parents are older, so what have you learned at 60? What are you learning that you could share with our audience? What are you preparing yourself for?
I'm preparing myself for preparing. It's having those conversations that we highly recommend people to have, to plan now. We don't know the days God gives us to live. I could die today, Pete. We all know that. That's a, you know, kind of a naive statement. We all realize that.
Yep.
I could pass before my mom and dad, but mom and dad, what I can say, I'm proud they did things, I guess I'd say, right, because of their experience with their own parents. Is they had the estate in order. They had the powers of attorney in place. They had their caskets and grave sites picked out. They had their trust set up and the assets protected. Unfortunately, so many people don't have the finances to even have an estate planning, but they need to go ahead and be connected to a Medicare or Medicaid consultant. They need to go ahead and have a free consultation with an elder law attorney to see what's required to protect anything they may have. Maybe they just have a home, but they need to protect that.
Mhm.
Maybe they just need your basic power of attorneys. There's different ones. Have conversation with your family of, if those days are upon you, go ahead and talk about who's going to handle what, who's going to be the point, who's going to be the one that's responsible to handle the insurances, the filings, the paperwork, all the stuff that's required. So I guess in essence, it's where are they going to stay, who's going to take care of them, and how are they going to pay for it?
Yeah. Those are great questions to ask. And I've had so many people on that talk about they don't have the conversations. It's like we don't think we're gonna die one day. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't even want to think about it. Well, I'm sorry, but nobody gets out of this alive. So it's like there's a day that'll be the last that you're on this earth. Why not have the conversations and encouraging your everybody to talk about these things,
Mhm.
because the worst thing is not preparing and putting your kids through all kinds of mess trying to put the pieces back together. You said your parents all have done all these things. A lot of people have not,
But
because
even with that said, it's still overwhelming to handle.
yeah, I
I
totally
could
agree.
I couldn't imagine having all this other stuff piling on. I'm thankful to mom and dad for having the foresight to do that.
Yes. What do you think? Like, why did they do that? And why do people not? Like, your parents, obviously they raised you. What do you think was in their character that they decided to take the steps and prepare and do these things? What did they do that you saw that kind of prepared them to prepare?
Because they went through it with their own parents,
Okay.
and they did not want to have that passed on to
Mm,
us, their own children. But
yeah.
with that said, they still had no clue at the level of commitment and requirements, because we don't know how we're going to wind up when we find ourselves there. Some people can be in their late 90s, 100 years old, and they're still with it. They're still fine.
Mhm.
And it's assisted living, but it's not, a intense care situation.
Mhm.
Mom is home with hospice. They never envisioned or dreamed that it would be 24-hour care.
Yeah.
And just personally speaking, it's been a challenge because um, I'm thankful mom and dad had the ability to um, have the finances, but I'm telling you, that came from intense sacrificing and budgeting and saving and knowing the value of a penny, not a dollar. And I think that's because they came up through the Depression. So they sacrificed a lot to make sure they never lived beyond their means, so they would have the money if they found themselves at this stage. But I think what people need to realize, and it's so intimidating, that even with mom and dad who have long-term care insurance policies they took out a long time ago, mom's is of course activated. It maxes out at $5,100 a month, which is $170 a day. So after insurance, my mom and dad are still coming out of pocket $9,000 to $10,000 a month for her care. And so I'm sitting here trying to be what I do.
Mhm.
As a son, I'm concerned they outlive the money, and then they have to go through what I see a lot of people going through, is having to be put into a state nursing home.
Yeah.
And I struggle with it greatly, because I don't want to just say, I just want to ship you guys off. I know that the right community with the right environment, there's pros and cons to it, but just dad's social life would be incredible instead of sitting there in the house all day long,
Yeah.
watching mom. And it's so expensive, Pete.
Yeah.
It's insanely expensive. And that's at $20 an hour with actual retired nurses. That's a deal. Most people will face with in-home care agencies. Most of them have just CNAs. They're not actually nurses. And you're looking at 25 to 35 an hour.
Wow.
So,
and when you look at the options that are out there, you have to know professionals, because if you look at a website and you're out there trying to do it on your own, anybody can create a website. So you got to know who's behind the website, the leadership in these communities, the professionals that are out there, and you have to have a group of professionals. And I know with what you do, are you helping people guide? I mean, be connected to the people, the professionals that are needed out there to make good, intelligent decisions?
I'm really glad you asked that question. And that's what people like Brian Sullivan and myself and my company CareQuest. I'm also a member of the Atlanta Placement Coalition, which I've done a show with 4 other owners of local placement agents here in Georgia. Like, Mark, why would you do that? Pete, I'm truly trying to put my best foot forward. I need all the business I can get, but I truly look at this as a ministry first to serve families. And same with people like Brian Sullivan, is we all connect the families. We only get paid, all of us only get paid if we successfully place them into an assisted living community or memory care community, or find them access to a really good in-home care company that's a good fit for them. That's the only way we get paid. We don't charge families anything. So we also make sure that the family, that's when I said earlier about just that one phone call, we will connect them to whatever they may need. It may need, if there's a veteran in the family, we have resources to connect them to see, hey, maybe there's some veterans benefits you're not aware of that you could qualify for. Medicaid, Medicare, that in itself is complex. That changes even from zip code to zip code. If you move to another part of the city, that you have to review your plan. Maybe what do we do with all this stuff? We connect them with the resources of having a declutter agent, a moving company, a state sale company. Literally anything and everything is what local placement advisors do, those that truly care. I have to say this without calling names out. The Goliath out there is an online company. There's a couple of them that they say that they're placement advisors, but pretty much what they do is they monetize the data. So in other words, someone goes and they're in desperate need of help, and they'll fill out a form, and knowingly or maybe unknowingly are filling out a form for this large national company. And what happens is their data is monetized and it's blasted out to as many communities that they have commission agreements with. Then the next thing this family knows is they're getting bombarded with phone calls from these communities that wants to fill their rooms. There's no time taken to love on the family, talk with the family, make sure they're connected in all the other areas, and learn enough about them to go, what is the right community for them? And is that community a good community? They may look beautiful from the outside. How long has the staff been there? What's the turnover? What's the response time? What are their state reviews? So it's just like a warm intro. Like when Brian introduced me and you together, it was a warm connection. It was almost this rapport that was there, which naturally comes with any kind of networking introduction. Is you're recommending someone, so the wall's down a little bit, then you're able to take the time to know each other. Same thing with these communities. We kind of know behind the scenes. We know the EDs and the marketing directors. Instead of the family having to go, who do I call? Who do I talk to? It may be getting some aggressive person that is just under the gun to fill that room. They're getting more of a sales pitch than more of a, hey, let me make sure this is a good fit for you. So we eliminate all that. We're that buffer. So you ain't got to sit there and wonder who to call. Who do I call for elder law? Who do I call for Medicare? Who do I call as a community? All that stuff is eliminated.
Yes.
And I can't stress that enough, that that's the advantage of a local placement agency advisor. We actually kind of changed the title, call ourselves life change agents. Is what I like to refer ourselves as, is we're life change agents.
Yeah. That is like, and I know Brian's counterpart up here in my area, Tara Strom, and she's that person, busy as can be, because the word starts to circulate that she'll take care of you. And the same, Brian's, newer in the area, but he has that servant heart that, people recognize and want to work with. And I think you always want to work with people, not websites,
right?
Digital stuff that can be, like you said, monetized into. The worst thing you do is be bombarded by all these hungry salespeople that want to fill rooms, and all they want to do is put people in rooms where you're taking the family, looking at the best options that are out there, knowing that that person is like a family member to you, because you're taking your work seriously. And even if you didn't even have that relationship, you know that your relationship is based on being honest, true, and adding value to that. And when they get value, where do you think they come back to? They come back to Mark. And that when you look at that model you just told me about, the monetizing of data, you got to be aware out there that's happening. So learn the people like Mark, like Brian, like Tara, who are going to help you. They're going to help you and hold you by the hand through I call it the honor of the struggle, because it isn't easy.
No, it's not.
A lot of decisions that need to be made. And the better you have partners to help you make the decision, the better it's going to be. What do you see the biggest, like when somebody comes to you and says, Mark, this is what I want to do. I have my parents and we're looking in this area. What's your first steps? What are you doing to really connect? What problems do they come into you? What comes up constantly?
I literally 100% of the time start out with empathy. I start out by asking what's going on, ask them, what is bothering them. And I just take the time to listen. And then I try to figure out, what are the family dynamics, because sometimes when there's other people involved that you don't get to speak to and build a rapport, it's important that everybody is involved in the process. Then I unfortunately had to, ask and find out, have they filled out any forms online? Because what happens, these companies will go ahead and register. Let's say that you called me, Pete, and you're reaching out for help with one of your loved ones. And we're talking, we build a rapport, we build a good trust foundation. And then what we do is I have the family member fill out what's called, it's a 2-page pre-assessment form. All communities have to assess the potential resident, the nurse all has to do their own assessment, but we do a pre-assessment. It's a very simple 2-page intake form that way when we're picking out possible communities, we send that ahead of time and they can look it over. The nurse can look it over and go, I think they would be a good fit here. That way we're not wasting the community's time. And more importantly, we're not wasting the family's time by going to a place that wouldn't be a fit for them.
Right.
And then we sit up and go on the tours with them. But one of the things that will happen, unfortunately, is if they have filled out a form and they're getting a lot of phone calls, people have too many voices in their ear. There's too many people after them. I had a lady a couple of weeks ago that I tried to meet with, spent 3 hours on a Saturday with her. She's alone by herself, and a community actually called because we do, not to get off on the weeds in this, but we do have a real estate division to where we help family sell their houses, whether it's cash, as is, or whatever. And she just had so many people in her ear. And just trying to be there for her and help her navigate through it. I've got one right now working with, and you had mentioned earlier about dementia. And this lady, she's so overwhelmed because she's mourning losing her husband because his mind's going, and the pressures and the stresses and the challenges of not wanting to have to place him, but she's got to. And to literally just be there and be a friend. I literally just be there and go, hey, I'm here if you just need to talk. You're never going to get that from some online data gatherer. And I just want people to understand that a local placement advisor that is doing it the right way, you got to reach out. And also trying to get people to allow us to do what we do. Like, just stop looking, stop calling, because if they call and it ends up being someone we're going to identify as a possible place, they're already registered and they're not going to pay us. And again, that's the only way we make money is when we place someone. So if they fill out a form and they get pre-registered, they're not going to pay us. Right. At some point, it does have to be about money, because we can't keep our doors open if we don't successfully place people. Right. So it's fighting that situation of, let us do our job and just sit back, relax, and try to focus on loving on your family. And I say that with caution because some people can't love on their family because they don't get along. I'm a member of some Caring for Older Parents forums, and you see some stories on there that are heart-wrenching. Families can't stand each other. Maybe they were abused growing up. They're bitter. They're even having to take care of this person that they don't even want to call their parent. Yeah. So there's all of that you have to pay attention to. I hope I answered your question. I get a habit of running off. Yeah.
It does. And I want our viewers to know the maze that's out there. And I'm just geared towards strategy. So I always look at everything from a standpoint of what would be the strategy that I would use. And as I got more in the last couple of years acclimated to senior living, I could see that one of it is you better find trusted people that know the market, that know the relationships, that can guide you through this maze, because it is an absolute mess when it comes to like Medicare. They change every other day, it seems like. We were at our meeting that Brian was at this past week, and the guy made a presentation on that affordable $1 trillion stimulus that they came out. Well, there's so much that's getting pushed down, and the rules are changing and for different things. And if you're out there without any guidance and you're trying to figure out your prescription plan, how much they're going to pay for this and what you have to do, your head will be spinning. Yeah, because the government never makes it easy. They make it whatever the government does in the medical part, Medicare and all that, they just times 100 of complexity. Yeah, so you need a professional that knows and studies that so they can help you And that way you're not trying to run out information. You're depending on people. I know that people hear a lot about AI. I know it's out there, it's coming, and it's being used, but human intelligence will always,
Always be needed. Yeah.
always. Yes, it's a tool. Yes, it'll make some things simpler. Yes, it's going to change everything, but humans will never change. Dealing with people that have relationships, that know the market, that can guide your loved ones through a maze of decisions, because it just gets very complicated when it comes to the changing nature of our government and the services that are provided. So what would you say, Mark, when it comes to, first tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you, and what kind of area would they, I know anybody in the area that you're in is, but just give our viewers, a phone number and a contact information for our Spotify listeners.
Yeah, it would be mlittle@carequestsolutions.com. You can reach me directly at 706-444-2754. If you go and search at CareQuest Solutions or at CareQuest, or just put in Mark Little, Jonesboro, Georgia, you'll have access to a lot of the YouTube channel, and go check out the shows. I actually do have other senior placement advisors on there, because I think that that's the right thing to do, because not everybody may not even like me. I mean, everybody deals with who they like. Able to handle really anywhere in Georgia. I can do that, not only for not necessarily in a particular area. By being involved with the coalition, I do know some other trusted people like Brian, we can work together and place together and share in that as well. So definitely here to serve people. And just want everybody to know 10,000 people a day are turning 65. I'm rapidly on that path. And so I think we all need to, I always like to say, we all know someone that's going through this, will go through this, or have gone through this. And the only way that stops it is death.
Yes. And I'm already in that 67 area. I had no idea how many decisions I had to make when I turned 65. I thought it was like, no, I don't know what I thought. I thought it was simple, but it wasn't.
Well, Pete, you wear it well, brother. You look good. You're holding up good, my friend.
Well, podcasters keep us young. And I have to say, the more you're learning, I think the more you're reversing your age, because part of life is learning, and we want to be able to have good relationships and know good people that you can rely on. So, Mark, what would be the last thing, and one thing, not the last thing, what would be the one thing you want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
I think it would be just take a deep breath and breathe. I'm also a mental health advocate. I'm someone that likes to be transparent, and I like to speak out and let people know it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to be bitter and frustrated and scared and confused. I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm the last one to say I'm the man that has it all figured out with my faith. But I do believe that if we lead with love, and that we do try to lean on our faith and trust God for everything that we try to do in life, that's where our peace and comfort comes from, through the Holy Spirit that is there for those of us that do attempt to have faith and believe.
Yes.
For those that may have other religious views, I hope they can receive the love that's behind my words right now. But I just highly encourage people to realize that if you're overwhelmed and you're not okay, it's okay to feel that way, and that we truly are all here to serve. And I want to thank you for the opportunity. This has been interesting to be coming on as a guest. It's been really awesome, and I can't thank you enough for the invitation here.
Well, when Brian came to me, he says, you gotta meet Mark. You guys are like similar in we're podcasting and all that to seniors, and we're out there. And I totally know what you're saying. I was just on a podcast before this, And it was the first time in a long time. I was on one other one that the roles were reversed, and it was cool.
And you're gonna be on mine this week, so it's gonna happen again.
At 2:00, tune in. I get
Exactly
to be on the other side of Mark and get to field the questions coming from him, and it's cool to do that because you learn so much.
Yeah.
And I know that's what Brian was thinking. Like, you guys have a lot in common, and we're both.
I've met so many wonderful people like Brian. It's just the people that I've met by being involved in this industry. And this is for another day, but the fact that I even have this and have started this company is mind numbing. I never dreamed or fathomed, and I kind of have had to start this company kicking and screaming because I have been pretty, bitter and angry at God and life for why my finance company was sort of torpedoed when I should be technically retired now, but that's a whole nother topic. But God's ways are not our ways, Pete.
Yes.
And the people that I'm meeting has been in the lives that I've gotten to encounter and just love on them has been rewarding beyond words.
Well, that is well said. And before I go, I just remembered this because Brian knows this too. We met at the Atlanta Senior Care Niche, and coming August the 1st at the Church of the Apostles, they're looking to do a yearly event where they're bringing the seniors from every place, the senior centers, the senior places, and then you have the vendors there who are there to educate them. It's not a selling thing,
right?
Educate people about what their options are. So August the 1st, Church of the Apostles. Put that on your calendar. And if you have any questions, you can call myself, or let me see if I have my number up here. Yeah, I do. Yeah, let me just say. So if you want to know more about it, you can call me direct at 404-428-3006 or podcasterpkane.com, which is changing, but you can still get there because it'll be forwarded. But you want to be there. Either if you're a person want to meet people like Brian and maybe Mark, I think you would want to be there too. And if you're a senior wanting to know what's out there, and your adult children want to know what resources are out there for your mom and dad, you want to be there. It's from 10 to 2, Church of the Apostles on August the 1st. Oh, Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate it,
buddy.
I look forward to getting together with you on Friday.
We'll do it to it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, brother.